How y'all doing today? It's your boy Eat Right Guy. I'm back with another video. And so for this video, it's not going to be nutrition related or fitness related. It's going to focus more on mental health because I think that's a very important aspect of health that's not really touched on a lot, because things such as stress, depression, the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of worthlessness, all those things can have detrimental effects on your health just as much as not eating the right foods and being physically inactive. So for this video, I want to discuss pretty much 3 of my top favorite books that have changed my life and has made me a better person mentally and has given me beneficial effects on that level so that I can combine my nutrition and fitness just to make me an overall healthy person. So the first book I want to introduce is called When Breath Becomes Air. And it's pretty much an autobiography about a neurosurgeon. It's split into 2 parts. Part 1, it details his life, pretty much him growing up and how he became a doctor and things like that, and pretty much his struggles getting through medical school. And then in part 2 was where things really changed. The thing about it is he pretty much was on his last year of residency, and being a neurosurgeon, that's one of the hardest specialties as a physician. He was almost to the end of that to where he can start his own practice. He was about to graduate from a prestigious university, and then he found out that he had metastatic lung cancer, which was terminal. And so he went from being a doctor helping people and saving people's lives to being a patient and he pretty much was like, man, I only have so long to live. And it kind of changed his perception of life. And the doctor that wrote the book, his autobiography, I think his first 2 degrees, his bachelor's and master's degrees, were in English. So the book was well written, and he pretty much made me change the way I think about life and how you spend your time, who you spend your time with. And it was well written, and it definitely changed my life and opened up my eyes to just a different point of view just about living life. So I definitely recommend that book. The number 2 book I recommend is a book that I just read, and I think it's a movie that just came out, and it's called The Shack. And I just found out about the movie. I looked on Amazon and it had a lot of reviews. I didn't know what it was about, so I just started reading it, and it was very good. And so it's pretty much, the plot of the story was this guy, he has, I think, 3 kids, and he went on a camping trip, and 2 of his kids were in a canoe, and the canoe overturned, and so he had to jump in the water to save them. While he was saving them, his younger daughter ended up getting abducted and kidnapped. And so they called an Amber Alert. The rangers at the park started looking for the child, and they found that the person who abducted the child was in a Jeep, and they drove off. And so they followed after the little girl, and it led them to a cabin. And once they got to that cabin, or a shack, they found the girl's clothes bloody. And so they never found her body. And then a few years later, that grief was just stuck on the dad, and he felt that he was responsible for that. Even though he went in the water to save his other children, he felt that it was his fault that his other daughter was abducted. And so a few years later, he finds a note in the mail, and it's telling him to go back to the shack, and it's signed by somebody named Papa. Well, his wife refers to God as Papa, so he didn't know if somebody was playing a trick on him or if it was God himself telling him to go to that shack. And so, without telling his wife or his kids or anything, he went to the shack by himself, thinking that the note was from the person who abducted his daughter. And in the shack, he found, you know what I'm saying, pretty much true meaning to life. And it's kind of a religious book, but I recommend that for if anybody that's religious, agnostic, atheist. And me personally, I'm not a religious person. I'm agnostic. I don't know pretty much what's true. I just kind of live my life the best that I can. But this book answered questions that I had just about God and life and things like that. And the author put it in a way that I've never heard it before. And the way that he used metaphors and the way that the story was told, it was just a masterpiece, man. And that author is a genius. I'm pretty sure the movie isn't as good as the book, but anybody that's religious or just has questions about that, I definitely recommend that book for you. I'm definitely going to reread that book over again. I feel that I'm going to get something out of it after I reread it again. So that's number 2, The Shack. Definitely read that book. It will change your life. And the number 1 book I recommend that would change your life is the book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so I was kind of reluctant to read this book. It's kind of a business. It's about business. And I'm like, I don't want to read a book on business. But it has so many good reviews. I just kept coming back to it. And I would just put it on hold. I'm like, all right, I'm going to read this book and I'm going to come to that. And finally, I decided to just bite the bullet and read the book. And my only regret is I wish I would have read the book sooner. This book is the reason why I'm making these videos, why I started posting more on Instagram, why I created my own business, Eat Right Guys, Nutrition and Fitness, why I created my website. And it's pretty much changed my outlook on life when it regards to being an entrepreneur. And I couldn't get enough of this book. I read more. I forgot what his name is, but I'm going to put a description in the video. But definitely, if you're somebody that wants to be an entrepreneur, this book pretty much is for you. It would change your life. Even if you're somebody that works a 9 to 5, after reading this book, you're going to reevaluate your life and what it means, what time means, you know what I'm saying? Valuing time more, doing what you want to do, and actually creating wealth for yourself. So definitely Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's the number 1 book. If there was one book that I could recommend to anybody, whether it be related to nutrition or any other subject, Rich Dad, Poor Dad would be that book. And if y'all have any books that's changed y'all lives that y'all can recommend, please leave them down in the description. Every time I read a book that's like really good and changes my life, it's kind of like crack. It's like I need to find another book. And so I'll just go on Amazon for hours just reading reviews, just trying to find that next great book. So if y'all have any suggestions, please leave them down below. And if y'all found this video or you like these type of videos where I recommend different books, if you find this helpful, y'all let me know too. And stay tuned for more videos. I'm definitely going to be more consistent with releasing content. And y'all have a nice day.